A definition of psychology. Psychology is a science. A science is a body of systematized knowledge that is gathered by carefully observing and measuring events. Psychologists do experiments and make observations which others can repeat. They obtain data, often in the form of quantitative measurements, which others can verify. This scientific approach is very different from forming opinions on the basis of individual experience or arguing from premises that no one can test. Thus, experiments and observations are at the core of scientific psychology. For more on the methods of psychology, see page 8. As a science, psychology is systematic. Data from experiments and observations are essential. But for them to make some sense in helping us understand events, they must be organized in some way. Scientific theories are important tools for the organization of observed facts. To some people, the word theory simply means someone's unsupported and unfounded notion of how things ought to be done or a set of abstract principles that do not work in practical situations. However, theory has quite a different meaning in science. Scientific theories are general principles which summarize many observations and predict what can be expected to happen in new situations. As summaries and predictors of events, scientific theories should not be thought of as right or wrong, but merely as more or less useful in helping summarize what has been observed and in making predictions about what is to be expected when new observations or experiments are done. As new data are obtained, theories are subject to modification, or old theories may eventually be scrapped in favor of new ones which do a better job of summarizing and predicting than did the old theories. Many of the arguments scientists have with each other are over the modification and scrapping of theories as new data are gathered. Another important part of most sciences, psychology included, is measurement, defined as the assignment of numbers to objects or events according to certain rules. We are all familiar with measurements of physical scales, length, time, temperature, and the like. Measurement in psychology is often more difficult than it is in sciences such as physics and chemistry because many of the things psychologists study cannot be measured directly by physical scales. What are the yardsticks of happiness or friendship, for example? Even though many behaviors are difficult to measure, psychologists have devised many ingenious tests to assign numbers to them. Chapter 13 gives some examples. Of course, not everything psychological is as difficult to measure as our happiness and friendship. We can often design our experiments and arrange our observations so that we can use physical measures of space and time to tell us about psychological events. For example, we can count the number of times a person behaves one way in one situation and another way in another situation, or we can measure the time taken to make a response in one situation or another.